I looked down at everything in the villa from the French window, and I had to admit that Corbin's room had a really good view. The scenery was panoramic, but I didn't want to be a canary in a cage like this. I sat bored in the room for half a day, feeling mentally tortured. I would rather Corbin kill me directly than leave me hanging like this. In the evening, Corbin came back. He had a white bandage tied on his black shirt, with clear blood seeping through. Ding! Wisnovel reminds you to click the subscribe button in the bottom right corner to read the complete novel. I stood up and watched him walk straight to the secret room. After entering, he turned and looked at me. "Aren't you coming to ward off evil spirits for me?" I was stunned. There were no sleeping pills today, and I couldn't induce sleep. I looked at Corbin, weakly trying to explain. "Yuri hurt and bleeding. It is not suitable to ward off evil spirits after bleeding. It's a rule, and it's not appropriate today." Corbin sneered. "The reason is quite unique. Harry found out your identity." My heart jumped to my throat instantly. The words of chopping me up and feeding me to the dog still lingered in my ears, making my legs tremble. "So what? What's the result?" "The result should be clearer to you than me." Corbin looked at me in the darkness. I couldn't see him, I could only hear his voice, which made me even more scared. I struggled to resist the urge to kneel down, and spoke defiantly. "I am the descendant of the witch's 18th generation. If not, then Harry made a mistake. You know my abilities." "Ha, abilities?" Corbin sneered, then continued. "You better have some abilities." After a long pause, Corbin spoke again. "Come here, ward off evil spirits." I clasped my hands together and bowed to every corner of the room. "I beg you all ghosts to stay away from Corbin Fisher, otherwise we will become colleagues, and I will burn more paper money for you another day." Today, Corbin didn't turn on the lights, and the already dark decoration made the room even darker. Entering the room felt like entering hell. I stood in place not knowing where to go, and muttered a few words at the door. "Mr. Fisher, why don't you change the room's decoration style another day? This gloomy look is like a coffin. Of course it's easy to attract ghosts." In the darkness, Corbin made a sound of agreement, and then said nothing more. I stood for a while, and seeing that Corbin didn't say anything again, I returned to the bright place and curled up on the sofa. "Mom!" I was fast asleep, but Corbin's pitiful mom woke me up. I turned over on the sofa, pretending not to hear, but the next moment, Corbin called my name. "Maggie Gray, come in." I dragged my exhausted body to the door of the secret room, but I couldn't get in at all. Helplessly, I shouted to Corbin inside. "Mr. Fisher, I don't have the password. I can't get in." Corbin directly shouted from inside. 779797. After entering the password, the door opened. Corbin weakly sat on the bed, sweating profusely, looking exhausted, and had needles still in his arms. I immediately knelt at the bedside of Corbin and began to kowtow. "God bless Corbin Fisher, be safe and sound. No ghost can enter this room." Then I looked at Corbin. "The evil spirits have been driven away. You can go back to sleep." His gaze gradually filled with desire as he looked at me. Sensing that something was wrong, I was ready to run out, but he grabbed me around the waist and pulled me back. He began tearing my clothes, and my jeans turned into pieces in his hands like paper. Panic-stricken, I pressed down on the wound on his arm and took the opportunity to run out while he was in pain. But the sound of the gun being cocked made me not dare to take another step forward. "Maggie Gray, take off your clothes. I'll go out and have Harry find another woman for you." I tried to save myself, but no one paid any attention. Corbin pulled the trigger, and the bullet grazed the bulletproof door, sparking. I covered my ears in fear. "Come back. Don't make me say it a second time." The ringing in my ears made me dazed for a moment, and then a shot pierced through my arm. Corbin carried me to the bed. "Let me vent, or I'll hand you over to those bodyguards. Whether it's one person or a group of people, I believe it's not a difficult decision for you." After saying that, he pressed down on my body. The speed and intensity of Corbin's thrusts made me beg for mercy in a limp state. But he didn't care about my feelings, only focusing on his own pleasure. I gradually lost consciousness due to the pain in my body, not knowing how long it had been. Corbin must have been satisfied, as the next day I was not handed over to those bodyguards. I was trapped on the top floor by Corbin as his plaything, and he would come at night to vent his desires on me. The beautiful view of the villa from above, which used to be so lovely, now seemed like an inescapable cage to me. The bodyguards were showing more and more respect towards me because in their eyes, the longer someone stayed in this house, the more Corbin liked them. I had tried to open the secret room and find a way to escape, but it was no use because Corbin changed the password. He guarded against me as if I were a thief. I tried hard to recall the plot. I was not the female lead. The female lead was a girl named Jolie Slater, and her appearance became a ray of light in Corbin's life. I might just be one of the many mistresses in the early stages, and perhaps when Jolie Slater appeared, Corbin would let me go. Time for dinner. Corbin stood next to me, without any physical contact. He still didn't like to touch me outside of the bed. Looking at the dishes on the table, I felt a bit nauseous. I'd had enough of these meals. I'm tired of them. I want to eat apple pie. Corbin fell silent for a moment, then nodded in agreement. "Tomorrow, I'll have it delivered to you." The next day at noon, Corbin did not have lunch with me. After asking the bodyguard, I found out that he had gone to S City to collect arms, and he wouldn't be able to return until tomorrow. So, the opportunity for my escape was finally about to come, and the first person I thought of was Kate Bell. Mrs. Bell is also American. She should like apple pie too. Can I have a meal with her? The bodyguard hesitated for a moment. I continued to plead with him. I'm trapped here all day, without anyone to talk to. Mrs. Bell also wants me to accompany her more. You can watch us have a meal. We're just having a meal. Nothing will happen. The bodyguard relented and took me to find Kate Bell. Kate Bell didn't seem surprised to see me, as if she had expected me to come. She affectionately took my hand, inquiring about my well-being, and happily exclaimed at the table full of food, "Corbin doesn't like American food." I wanted to have some, but he wouldn't allow it. "It seems he really likes you," she said with a smile. I forced a smile. People always tend to like things that are new to them. "If you like these foods, eat more of them." The bodyguard kept a close eye on us, so I couldn't say anything serious. Kate Bell kept patting my hand from time to time. She served me some food, but I couldn't eat a single bite. "Even if the food doesn't suit your taste, you should eat it. It's really hard to bear the feeling of having no food," she said. I glanced at Kate Bell, and the unfathomable sadness and emotion in her eyes pained me. I started forcing the food into my mouth. "Let's go soak in a hot spring later. It's really relaxing," she suggested. I nodded in agreement, but the bodyguard said no. However, he couldn't influence Kate Bell's decision at all. If Corbin Fisher wasn't here, Kate Bell would be in charge. I took off my clothes, exposing the bruises all over my body to the sunlight. Kate Bell smiled and got into the water with a look of understanding. "Can you help me?" I asked. Kate Bell remained silent the whole time, not giving me any answer even after we finished soaking. I put on the new clothes that Kate Bell had prepared for me and returned feeling disheartened, but I found Corbin waiting for me on the sofa. "Weren't you supposed to come back tomorrow?" He beckoned to me, his expression unreadable. I obediently approached him and he pulled me into his arms. He kissed me on the lips, the second time he had done so. The first time was on the night we started, when he kissed me in a daze after venting his desires. His hands began to roam on my body, stopping at the hem of my pants. Then he pushed me away. "Maggie Gray, have I been too good to you that you want me dead?" he cursed. I touched the hem of my pants and found a blade-shaped object there. I panicked and explained, "Damn it, this is something your mother prepared. I didn't intend to harm you." "Harry, take her away," he ordered. "Corbin Fisher, I'm pregnant. You can't treat me like this," I blurted out in a panic. As long as Corbin took me to the hospital, I would have a chance to escape. "You better be pregnant. Otherwise, Maggie Gray, I'll grind you to mincemeat," he threatened. "Harry, go find a doctor," he ordered. Harry obediently left the room, and Corbin showed no intention of taking me away from the villa to the hospital. He wanted to keep me trapped here from start to finish. If it was found out that I wasn't actually pregnant, I wouldn't be able to bear the consequences. I touched the blade at the hem of my pants and laughed. Perhaps this was my end. As a cannon fodder, supporting female character, living one more day was just one more day of suffering. I took out the blade and cut my wrist, and the blood sprayed on my face. I clearly saw Corbin kneeling in front of me, covering my wrist with his hand. Then many people appeared around me and carried me out of the house I hated the most. I didn't die, and it was really confirmed that I was 4 weeks pregnant. Severe anemia made the child at risk of miscarriage at any time. Although I didn't want the child, now he is my life-saving tool, and I hope he can live a few more days in my belly. I stayed in the hospital for half a month, but Corbin was nowhere to be seen. Harry said he had a new love named Jolie Slater, a girl who had just been abducted here, and she looked like a fairy. I didn't care about Jolie Slater's appearance at all. I felt lucky for myself. Although I shouldn't take pleasure in other people's misfortune, her arrival meant that I had a chance to catch my breath. I was recuperating in the hospital. Although Corbin didn't come, he had 2 bodyguards watching over me, so I couldn't escape from the hospital at all. Soon, I was transferred from the intensive care unit to a regular ward. It was the first time I had seen Corbin in such a long time. He brought his new love, Jolie Slater, to show me his concern. He didn't like to kiss me, but affectionately kissed Jolie Slater's face, which brought about Jolie Slater's shy response. Jolie Slater looked at me with embarrassment. "Miss Maggie, take good care of yourself. I will come to see you more often," she said before pulling Corbin out. Corbin remained silent throughout. After a few more days of recovery, I was discharged from the hospital. On the day of my discharge, Jolie Slater kindly came to pick me up. "Maggie, I'll take you home," she said. I smiled. My home is in the United States. That mansion is not my home. But soon, I realized I had spoken too soon. The Air Force surrounded us, and a sharpshooter accurately shot and killed the bodyguard who came to pick me up. Then, men in military uniforms protected me and took me to a car heading to the United States. As I looked at the American flag on the military uniform, I was so excited that I wanted to cry. But I didn't have time to cry at all. Corbin was lurking nearby. When he sensed something something was wrong. Both sides immediately opened fire. The soldiers protected me and Jolie Slater tightly. The sound of bombing was incessant in my ears, and I was safely protected until I got into the car. I threw myself into the arms of the countryman, crying and sobbing uncontrollably. "You finally came. I knew you would come to save me," I said. The soldier comforted me softly. "This is what we should do. We will take you back to your country now." I nodded frantically. "Thank you so much. Oh, by the way, there is an American woman trapped with Corbin Fisher. Her name is Kate Bell, his mother." It was only then that I realized Jolie Slater was missing, and there was Jolie Slater, who was with me just now. "Please go and save her quickly." The soldier nodded. "We know all about this. Leave it to us. We will definitely ensure their safety." The moment I boarded the plane back to my country, I felt a great sense of relief. Finally, I had escaped from the brink of death. I never wanted to set foot in that dreadful place again.